welcome to our travel documentary of China. We begin our journey from Tianjin. Tianjin is a city with over 10 million registered inhabitants, and it is one of the largest cities in China. It's located roughly 100 kilometers southeast from Beijing, which is the capital of China. The city is expanding rapidly and is under constant construction like many other industrial Chinese cities. Most of the apartment homes in Tianjin are quite new and display an interesting variety of architecture due to the Chinese policy to demolish older apartment buildings and try to gain international attention with design. Tianjin's urban area is located along the Hai River, which connects Yellow and Yangshou rivers via the Grand Canal in Tianjin. If you wish, you can explore Tianjin by boat, however they are quite lame and expensive, so I'd rather suggest using taxi or just walking along the river. Along the riverside you can find attraction and amusement opportunities, and also some small bars with limited amount of refreshments, which however are meant mostly only for tourists and consist mainly of well-known Western brands. Shopping in Tianjin is quite easy. In downtown area there are two main shopping streets, which eventually cross each other. These streets are filled with small shops, different kinds of services, restaurants, and also huge shopping centers which are hidden inside the street blocks. You can also find vast variety of shops selling valuable rocks and metals due to the reason that many Chinese people don't share our trust in banks in storing their wealth and assets. In addition, there are two older shopping areas on different sides of Tianjin, where you can find buildings with more traditional old Chinese characteristics. In these areas you can shop for more traditional type of purchases and souvenirs. In general, when shopping in China it is good to remember the basics. Always try to bargain for your purchases, and if you go back to the store after trying to make a deal, it is considered that you are going to buy the product. If you decline after that, you might cause a big scene. If you are interested to see temples in Tianjin, you can find some downtown, but I'd rather suggest searching those scenes in other areas of China. Traffic in Tianjin is quite intense, which also applies for most of the cities in China. There is practically no good metro system in Tianjin, and renting a car in Tianjin really makes no sense. Because taxis are so cheap, easy and fast, I found them to be the most reliable way of getting around in most Chinese cities. When traveling between Beijing and Tianjin, there is a super fast train which takes less than half an hour to complete this journey, and that is fast. During nighttime, the city really comes to life. Construction trucks leave the city to get a new haul of materials. People gather the streets and participate in various activities and social events. You can find many scenes filled with people relaxing after work and just having fun dancing together on the streets, or maybe just listening to local street bands on the riverside, which usually just play cover songs. Sometimes you can even find small concerts performing and practicing on the street. The street food vendors also hit streets with numbers during the night time. There are also two old-school arcade halls, one next to the shopping streets and one further away from the city center. Because Tianjin used to have strong presence of Western traders, there is an area called the Western City. There you can find some characteristic foods and drinks from some Western kitchens. There are plenty of food streets in Tianjin, at least one for each residential area. Basically, they are just streets filled with small restaurants where local people buy food as takeaway to eat at home. Popular ones you can find by searching for long queues, but they usually serve only takeaway. Next to these locations, you can also find local food markets where you can find fresh spices, vegetables, meats, and other cooking materials. Tianjin offers also many of more exquisite restaurants. In most of these you get to select very fresh or even living raw materials for your meals from tanks, cages or from a list. Selection is usually very large and offers possibilities that are quite controversial in terms of Western sense of what is correct. After ordering your meals, you can choose to dine either in common tables or require a private cabinet where you will have your own servants to take care of your needs. If you wish, you can supplement your order with more casual meals from a list that usually displays also pictures of the prepared dishes. The malls in Tianjin and China in general usually have a dedicated food floor where you can find broad variety of restaurants to choose from. Restaurants in these places try to make up ways of catching your attention and this way luring you to choose their place over the rivalries. Tianjin has also many very good hotpot restaurants. Hotpot is a food where you choose a broth, vegetables and different types of meats. The broth is then heated and kept boiling while you drop your vegetables and meats in the pot and bake them on your bowl to eat. It's a very social event as you share basically everything with your friends and you usually eat it for many hours. Tianjin also hosts one very interesting event. It involves a lot of snacks and a lot of beer, namely the Chinese Beer Festival. Fuck yeah! Festival lasts for 5 days and you can find most of the beer brands all over the world represented. Most of the brands have huge stages where different artists perform shows, and some even arrange competitions for us alcoholics. When traveling within China, the best way to get around is definitely by flying.
Welcome to our next stop, which is Sanya.
Sanya is a city located in the south part of the Hainan Island, which is the southmost part of China. It is a very popular beach resort, especially among the Chinese and Russian tourists. During the main season, which is on winter, most of the hotels are fully booked like almost everything on the island. That is why I, at least personally, would rather visit during the spring, summer, or autumn times. Sanya had an artificial construction boom after 2001 when Chinese government pumped shitloads of cash into construction and tourism in Hainan. That caused the property prices to go up drastically, but they never came down since Chinese government is usually so good in regulating prices. If you don't just want to sit around, Hainan is full of different kinds of sites and attractions to visit, and even to stay for a night. However, Hainan and especially Sanya is most well known for its beaches, so at least few lazy days on the beach is always good. During the daytime, weather is usually so warm that people avoid direct sunlight and beaches. So if you don't mind the heat, that's when it's best to hit the beach. Most of the beaches offer quite good services and are quite safe and legit in the sense of not trying to scam tourists. The activities on most beaches display quite good variety, from diving, basic banana tubing and speedboating. On the beaches of the downtown area there are many locals trying to display all sorts of funky activities to get some extra cash. However, if you don't buy anything, you'll be left in peace quite quickly. One of my personal favorite things in Sanya are the seafront restaurants on the beach. You can get a table less than a stone's throw away from the ocean with amazing views. Most of the restaurants offer outside barbecue where you can hand select your fresh ingredients and they are prepared for you instantly on the scene. The selection is very good, offering options from all sorts of vegetables, seafood, game and beef. Are trying to rival each other's, they have come up with all sorts of ways to lure customers to their tables. Most of the restaurants have live bands and artists performing during evening, and some of them are actually quite good. In downtown Sanya you'll find, apart from the hotels, a few decent shopping malls with prices matching Western prices and a few basic tourist shopping streets with all kinds of random stuff. One of the best sides in eating at Sanya is the freshness and the variety of the food. Everything you eat is most likely produced the same day or at max yesterday, apart from the cattle products which are shipped from mainland China. Even though Sanya is limited in size, it compensates it with diversity, crossing a little bit of everything, but the main character is definitely food. Sanya has also a few more distant, luxurious traveling destinations. One of them is the Tortoise Island, located roughly 50 miles east from Sanya. Too bad, when we got there, the place was hit by a typhoon a few days earlier, so most of the scenery was still filled with all kinds of debris. Here you can see a few of the turtles trying to escape the confinement. Just kidding, they were just resting. Sanya also boasts a few national parks, of which few have been totally transformed into tourist attractions. One of them is the Hot Water Springs Park, located roughly 70 miles northeast from Sanya. One of their main attractions is the flesh-eating fish that eat your dead skin. Some of them are huge.
Next, we'd like to welcome you to Guilin.
Guilin is located in central south of China. The city itself boasts a population of roughly 1 million registered inhabitants. It is an area filled with characteristic mountains, tragical landscapes, and beautiful rivers. It is also known for its valuable minerals and stones. When visiting Guilin, be careful and always demand a certificate of genuineness if you are buying jewelry, valuable metals or stones. The city of Guilin is divided by the Li River, which also is a popular place to hang out by both tourists and locals. There are multiple ways to get around the river, from shallow weather to ferries to fast boats. If you are just sightseeing around the city, I would recommend slow ferries instead of fast-pacing boats to give you some time to shoot and chill the sceneries. If you really wish to see some riverside sceneries which are truly beautiful, you should head out of town the next town with a riverboat, and to be sure you should head down along the river and not up, because otherwise you will be stuck for a long time on the riverboat. Guilin is well known for its noodles and very spicy food. Eating in China is generally always an experience, and Guilin makes no exception in that. China is one of the oldest cultures in the world, and thus its culinary traditions go deep and cover a vast diversity of flavors and styles. One of my personal favorites in Guilin, apart from the spicy stuff, was the style of serving breakfast noodles. Very customizable. When you're ordering meat in China, sometimes when you're ordering by selecting living animals, you are required to sign the killing of your meat. So if you're a carnivore exploring in Chinese kitchen, you should know it.
好，我要这个。
这个呀，
啊，
先称一块钱吧啊。
好好。
If you are going to stay in the area but want to head out of the city of Guilin, I would recommend to head down the river to the small city of Yangshou. The route can partly be traveled by bus, but the easiest way definitely is to travel with a shallow water riverboat. Apart from being a new experience, you will also witness some Chinese countryside and interesting sceneries. There are some totally isolated tribes by the river, which have lately gained a lot by the invading tourist hordes, which flow through the river like zombies in Call of Duty. The trip itself takes roughly 3 hours and hosts sceneries which are totally unreal. Yangshou is a very small city. It is a city filled with culture and astonishing sceneries. It is also a host in preserving old traditions and upholding Chinese traditional culture. One of the most memorable traditions was the way of training birds to dive fish from the river. Locals prevented the birds of swallowing the fish by tying a tight rope around the bird's neck and then forcing the fish back out of the bird's mouth. As a cultural pivot point, Yangshou hosts spectacular shows with amazing sceneries that compare to the quality of the directors, at least when matched by the renownedness. The very small but yet crowded downtown area of Yangshou feels almost as unreal as everything else around that area. It has a lot of quite western places to hang out, but one thing is common. Even in McDonald's you have quite the scenery to view. Yangshou was a trade post for western travelers a long time ago, and it can still be clearly seen in the cityscape. There are a lot of western brands visible in the very small isolated village. One quite hilarious sight was a random Jew wandering on the streets, probably admiring the surroundings of his next diamond shop.